Well, hello there. And yeah, glad to be here, glad to be talking about this. And yeah, as you can see, a lot has changed. I'm going to get really serious with things this new year. So thank you. So, I want to talk about obviously 2000 AFCON. For me, it was the first time that I had watched or that I got to watch AFCON as a person with a developed brain, right? I didn't watch 98 AFCON, I didn't watch 96 AFCON because Nigeria didn't participate. So I honestly didn't care for all those things. When Nigeria wasn't participating in such tournaments, there was a lack of interest really in those things. But anyway, beyond all of that, 2000 AFCON was an AFCON that obviously I watched through my eyes as a Nigerian. It was about the Super Eagles and us coming to take what we deserved, what we felt was ours. It felt like a great injustice that we couldn't defend our AFCON title of 94. And so we had 96, we're in there, 98, we're in there. So we had this arrogance and this belief that if we had been at those tournaments, we would have three-peated because nobody was on our level. I mean, in 96, we did win the Olympic gold with pretty much a core of the team that, made up the Super Eagles. So we felt like that. And I mean, you can definitely agree that generally we were widely regarded as the best African team of the 90s, and we deserved that. We thoroughly deserved that title. So the idea of 2000 AFCON was to come in and prove to everybody that we were who we said we were. After Atlanta Olympic gold in 96 and being the best performing African country at the 98 World Cup, where we beat Spain and Bulgaria. So it was like, yeah, this team now gets a chance to prove that it can really, really do those things and dominate the continent. And then it was happening in Nigeria. So it was just like a no-brainer, like this is going to be it. This is it. This is what we're going to be doing. And we're going to dominate. Right. So it was almost like we felt we were coming to be coronated and given our rightful title as African champions once again. This was like us defending our title, even though there had been two African champions after us. It was the first time we got to play AFCON. So it was against that background that we came into AFCON 2000, and I know that there was a lot of excitement. I remember it vividly. I mean, it's 24 years ago, but I still remember a bunch of things about that AFCON. I remember the frenzy and the excitement and how everybody just really saw it as us coming to fulfill our righteousness because we're going to get to the final and we're going to win. You get. So I know that the first game was against Tunisia and 4-2, Jejo Okocha on fire, Kano producing 3 assists, Ikeba's goal. And, everything was just, it was a very nice feel-good factor. And it felt like we had arrived. Like, this is us. I hope all of you are watching. It was fascinating that Tunisia scored 2 goals and nobody really cared about that stuff. We scored 4. So it was special. And we're this team and we had these things that we're coming to do. And then the second game was like an anticlimax. We played against Congo and we couldn't find a goal. And I remember that the entire Nigeria was pissed. Like, people were pissed at the players. Like, how can you draw with Congo? Do you know who we are? And all of that. Like, they roasted that team. After that match, they roasted that team. Why? How can you draw against Congo? Who are Congo, That's how we felt. We had this huge superiority complex about us, and we just felt superior. Because, I mean, that team was something to brag about. That team was something to brag about. Let's be serious. But anyway, third game, we had to play. If I remember correctly, Ulisse wasn't able to play because he was sick think he had malaria or something. It wasn't certain what it was. I think it was malaria, yeah. Because he was also sick for the quarterfinal against Senegal. But that game against Morocco, he was sick. I feel like I watched that game maybe like 10 times because NTA used to play it a lot, like later on after the tournament, and I used to watch it a lot. I liked, especially for the Finidi George goal. It was crazy shot, crazy goal. And so we had that. We had a 2-0 win that day. It was Finidi and Agawa that scored. Finidi's goal just out of nowhere, just because actually the game was proving a bit tough. And then Finidi scored and then just eased the tensions. And then we were in the quarterfinal. And that was where like the serious business was about to happen. Now, I wasn't really paying much attention to what was happening in other groups. I know that Cameroon were doing very well and South Africa as well, but I wasn't really paying attention because this tournament was about Nigeria for me. I was seeing it through the eyes of a Nigerian. We just wanted to see his country conquer everybody and, win. And so we got to the quarterfinal and we're supposed to play against Senegal. Senegal. We did not know at the time what Senegal was building, like the juggernaut of a team that they had, that they were building, like they were laying the foundations. It's sort of like Zambia, the Zambian team that won the 2012 AFCON. If you remember very well, in 2010 they played against Nigeria in the quarterfinals, and my goodness, they dealt with us. I remember that game and I was so confused. Like, how are Zambia so good? Like, who is this Katongo guy? Why is he so good all of a sudden, Because I think Katongo had been at 2006 AFCON as well. But anyway, so it was kind of similar. We did not know what they were actually building. We didn't understand. And Fadiga scored. Very beautiful goal. Kalilu Fadiga, I loved that guy so much. I came to love him after that. But like at that time, I didn't really know who he was. I was like, who's this guy? I didn't know many of the Senegalese players at the time. So it was a bit of a shock when they took the lead and led us, and like, wow, okay, who are these guys? But when they scored 1-0, it's like, okay, whatever, man. I mean, early, it's pretty early. We're going to come back and we're going to beat them 4-5, 6-1 or something. We had that arrogance and that belief in this team. Yikes, it didn't happen like that. It was like a joke. All of a sudden, it was halftime. We're still losing. 50th minute, 60th minute, 70th minute. Like, okay, what is going on here? Like, how are these guys so hard? Like, we couldn't create chances at all. Like, nothing was working out. Nothing was working. Like, they were so solid at the back and weren't really creating. And it was a struggle. And I remember that everybody started to get really apprehensive. Like, okay, what's going on? Are we about to be eliminated? It would have been so embarrassing. So embarrassing to be eliminated like that and against Senegal at the quarterfinal stage, especially with the arrogance we came to the tournament with. Bear in mind that we had not really played well after that first game. The Morocco game, we weren't particularly impressive. The Congo game was dire, and then here was Senegal and we're still not particularly playing well. And we couldn't really dominate this team and get the better of them. So it was crazy. For us, it was like, what's going on? For us fans. And I knew that the fans in the stadium were really tense and they were terrified about what was possibly happening here. And then I remember that Ulisse said he was coming to play. We just saw Ulisse dressing up. He's coming in, even though he has malaria. Because there was no way we were going to exit that night. We're not going anywhere. And so Ulisse came in, and I think he was the one that played the pass, because Ulisse was so good at that. He was one of my favorite players. Those passes he used to throw. He used to throw them for Yakini in the past, and then he was throwing it for Agawa this time. And we scored, really late in the game. Yeah, I was already having malaria. Because back then, anytime Nigeria was losing, I'll start having malaria. My head would be hot and all of that. And I remember I had nightmares after the Denmark game in 98. I had the worst night ever. I was so pissed. But anyway, So Olise came on, played that long pass. Agawa just got in there. He was a very, very, very like rugged guy. And I remembered him from like Nigeria 99 when we had that team. Dombraye, Ganyu Shitu, Agawa, and the rest. Beautiful Samokoye. It was a very, very beautiful team. Even though they went out in the quarterfinal to Seydou Keita. But anyway, Agawa comes in, somehow forces a goal. He had already scored like in the group stages against Morocco. And then he scored again here, and everybody just went crazy. Like, oh my God, we're actually not going out. Because we really thought we're done. Like, there was a point we got to in that game where it felt like, yeah, it's over. Like, this is done. We're not winning this game. Like, it didn't look like anything was going to change. But then Agawa scored, and then everything changed. And it was beautiful, right? And then we got to play extra time. And Olise was still balling and all. And then Agawa scored again. From nowhere. You know, it's like, oh my God, what's going on? Like, and everybody thought it was golden goal because at the time, the golden goal rule was still a thing. I mean, I remember at the Euros that same year, there was the golden goal rule still, which was what France used to beat Portugal, if I remember correctly. I think it was the Zidane penalty. And then also Trezeguet in the final. So like there was golden goal rule, but this wasn't golden in AFCON. It wasn't. But everybody thought it was golden goal. So everybody just jumped onto the field and was celebrating. And even I thought it was a golden goal. And then we found out, no, the game had to end. Like the entire extra time had to go before the game would be over. And then it was like such a bummer. But I mean, we stayed on. We managed to just get through it and get to the end of the game. And it was done, right? Which is like amazing. And so when the semi-finals, but Okocha got a red card, so he wasn't going to play the semi, which in hindsight was a blessing in disguise. Not like he was holding us back or anything, but the person that replaced him, Tijani Babangida, completely dominated that semi-final. See, you need to go on YouTube and watch a compilation of Tijani Babangida's game that day, because I've actually seen it a few times. Babangida was unplayable. He was also one of my favorite players in the team. I loved Tijani like crazy. So, like, as soon as the game started, and I remember there was this conversation where that I was watching on YouTube where it was said that Tijani thought Bonfrijo was crazy for telling him to go play on the left, because he was a right winger. He was like, it was Tijani or Finidi down the right, and Tijani went to play on the left because Bonfrijo told him to play on the left. I think because of Mark Fish. It was against South Africa, and he didn't want to play there. He thought Bonfrijo was crazy, but my goodness, he had the game of his life. He had the game of his life. Like, it was crazy. What a crazy performance. He was unplayable. They couldn't do anything about Tijani. He was just running at them over and over and over and over again. And, you know, at the end of the day, though, we won that game 2-0. Once we scored within the first 10, 20 seconds, it was over. Because all we just needed to do was get ahead. The fans were crazy. And once the fans are crazy, and Nigerian fans, once they're supporting and they're loud and everything, forget it. You'd be too rattled to do anything. It's fiercer than Anfield. For real, it's fiercer than Anfield. But anyway, so that happened, and we got to the final. Now, this was supposed to be like, yeah, we're in the final. Forget about everything. We are winning this trophy. It's in Lagos, Surulere, and like National Stadium, Surulere, Lagos. That's where they played the final, and it was a huge day. It's like AFCON final in our country, in our stadium. The AFCON that has eluded us for 6 years because we didn't get to play. So we really had to prove that. And it was Old Foes Cameroon. We had we already had a bitter rivalry with Cameroon because of what happened in the 80s. We lost 2 AFCON finals to them, and one of them, Henry Nwosu's goal was disallowed, wrongly disallowed, by the way. So we felt cheated. We felt like, yeah, these guys cheated us, and we're finally going to get them back, because now we were going to play, in our own stadium and with our own fans backing us and everything. And of course, we had to have words for Issa Hayatou and all of that. And then the game started, and I remember Chukundukwe starting the match. What? And also, in that tournament, I think I just recorded now, Ikpeba was kicked out early in the tournament, which is why Agawa even got game time like he did. Ikpeba was kicked out, but then he was brought back before the tournament ended, so he came back before the final, but he was originally kicked out. I would need to go check that again, but I think that happened. I'm just relying on memory here. And so Ikpeba came back for the final. I know Kanu was on fire that entire tournament. Kanu was incredible. He was unplayable. He was that link between the midfield and attack, and he was just, the role he played, insane. But anyway, we got to the final, and Chukundukwe was starting. And I think that was Raphael Chukundukwe, if I remember. That's his name, yeah? And everyone's like, why is this guy starting the final? Because I personally felt like maybe Agawa should have started, or someone, and also Tijani Babangida didn't start that final. Okocha was back. So it was Finidi, Okocha in that final. There was no Tijani. After the semi-final, he had to play that game. He had to start that game. But then, of course, you can understand that Bonfrey had a difficult decision to make. Okocha was the starter, and he was a magical player in the team. And having to decide between both of them, there was no other way that Tijani could play, in his opinion anyway. Because me, I would have found a way. Honestly, I would have found a way. Like, why would Tijani not play? He had to play. But I reckon that Ndukwe was played because of his physicality. Because, see, I'm just talking here because I never watched that game again after that match. So I'm talking like young me. I never watched that game again until last year or 2 years ago, because my memory of the game was that we dominated and should have won, and we were cheated. Because I was watching with obvious bias. I was only seeing Nigerian actions like that. And I remember my guy Solis. Hi, Solis. Solis. My enemy. So I remember Solis saying that, the odd Solis on Twitter, very, very knowledgeable man. Shout out to Solis. I remember Solis saying that I should go watch the game again. That I'll see that my view was tainted. I was like, for real? Because I've never actually watched that game again. I couldn't. It was too painful a game to watch again. But I went back and watched it. Man, was I humbled. Because when I watched that game again, I was like, what am I looking at here? Cameroon were all over us. But at the time, I felt like, okay, we're going to beat these people. And I think Ndukwe was played because of his physicality. He was a very big center forward. We also had Benedict Akwegu in that tournament. Yes. I didn't like Akwegu at all, to be very, very honest with you. I did not like him at all. But anyway, Ndukwe was played because of Raymond Kala and Rigobert Song, who were very, very big and strong center backs. I think Ndukwe needed to compete with them for duels and everything. If he had played an Agawa there, he probably would have gotten bullied. But I doubt that, now that I think about it, because Agawa was a hustler. Agawa would find a goal where there was no goal. He would run down anybody, and just be a complete nuisance. So maybe him starting would have worked. But anyway, So we started with Chukundukwe and Kanu, and then JJ Okocha and Finidi. And dude, they battered us. Well, first of all, within the first, was it 10 minutes? They had that free kick on our left side. It came in. I just know that the camera just panned to Shorumu, Ike Shorumu, and I just saw him getting just jumping, and then ball was under him, and it was Samuel Eto'o, and then he went to celebrate, running back, running forth, all of that. I was like, what? How? Not again, And we thought, okay, we were going to come back until disaster struck again. Patrick Mboma. Man, I was scared of that guy. He was big, technically good, and just a complete nuisance. And he played this shot under Ikeshoromu's legs. And I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Like, are you serious? Like, get serious, man. Are you serious? But anyway, that was what we had to deal with, because a lot was going on, let's be honest. A lot was going on in that team. That team was not looking ready at all. We were shell-shocked. The whole stadium went quiet. And we're like, what's going on? This is disastrous. And honest to you, Cameroon could have scored 7. Go and watch that game again. Cameroon could have scored 7. Like, Terrible West was a mess at the back. Like, he was getting cut out a lot. I don't know what was going on. Furoyenemi started that game. Furoyenemi was not, like, he couldn't handle Eto'o, Mboma, Olembe, Njita, Jeremy. Olembe showed us Pepe that day. And Laurent Etamemea that played for Arsenal. Laurent was too intelligent, my goodness. That team was so good. See, we always reduce that Cameroonian team to they cheated us. I mean, the penalty that Ikpeba missed, that was actually a goal, all of that. And we felt that injustice. But please, let's give them their flowers. That Cameroonian team was good. Like, they played us off the park. They carved. In fact, they were so good. Like, that was a very good team. Very good. Technically excellent team. My goodness. But anyway, we're down 2-0 just before halftime. Kanu gave the ball to Ndukwe, and Ndukwe scored. And it's like, yeah, we're back. At that point, I had already lost hope. And then Ndukwe scored. And I was like, maybe we are back. Maybe we can do this. As soon as we entered for the second half, ball for Sokocha. He just, he just sent it back. A goal. 2-2. We're back in it. Now, you'd expect us to carry it on from there and actually, like, go and win the game or something. Man, no! It did not happen like that. Instead, Cameroon were back at us, pressing our necks and everything. And I just know that these guys were all over us. Oh, by the way, when we beat South Africa in the semi-final, it was like, yeah, we've proven to you that we would have won 1996 AFCON if we had been there, right? Because look, we just beat South Africa anyhow. And in that final, that Cameroonian team had not won AFCON or anything since the 80s, but yeah, since the 80s, right? Yeah, since the 80s. But anyway, that Cameroonian team had not won AFCON for a while. And we just felt like, okay, even in that, we need to beat you for, all the hurt that you have cost us, because they beat us in 2 AFCON finals in the 80s. And then Cameroon just went at us. We're really, really fortunate to even take that game to extra time and to take that game to penalties, because we really should have considered. If I remember correctly, they hit the post like twice from big chances. Mboma was running riot. Eto'o, oh my goodness. But anyway, we managed to get to penalties. And it's funny how we process games, because at the time, I didn't process it as us getting battered. I processed it as, okay, that just happened, but we're going at them and we're doing well. We were not. But anyway, we went to penalties. Ikpeba's penalty, and he put his hand on his head, and everybody was like, how can you do that? How? Like, why would you do that? Celebrate. Maybe that would affect the referee or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't really subscribe to that. I think that even if he had celebrated and said, yes, a goal, the ref would still have not given the goal. But I get it. If he had celebrated, that would have made it a lot more difficult for the ref to make a decision against, what was actually real. But I think that Ikpeba genuinely felt like he missed. And that has not, and people don't talk about that. People don't really talk about that. I think he genuinely thought he had missed it. He did not know that he actually scored. He thought he had missed it. He thought so. So anyway, after that, we lost the game. It was Rigobert's song to take the last penalty. And I remember I was just looking like, can something miraculous just happen? Like, maybe he sleeps and he plays it somewhere else. Man, Rigobert's song played that penalty like he was angry with us. He blasted. I never forgive him for how he took that penalty. Like, man, what is your problem? It's like that Nigeria-England game, the Falcons from the World Cup. I forgot who the player was again, but she took that penalty with anger. And I remember we were all on Twitter like, why are you so angry, man? Did we offend you? Yeah, that was how Song took that penalty. It was somehow. But anyway, the penalty was taken. They won. Then Song wore the Nigerian jersey to leave the trophy because he exchanged jerseys with someone. And that memory scarred me. Like seeing Song in a Nigerian jersey and then Issa Hayatou was celebrating with them or something. I was pissed. And I was like, we need to get Cameroon back at some point. I can never forget this insult. I wanted it to be a final, which is why 2002, I'm going to talk about it in another episode, was so annoying because we were in the semi-final and we're going to play Cameroon in the final and we're already thinking about Cameroon, which is what always happens with Nigeria. In 98, we're supposed to play Denmark. We're already thinking about playing Brazil in the quarterfinal and rekindling the rivalry or the thing from Atlanta 96. We have that tendency to jump the gun, and we did that again. But anyway, we lost that final. I never forgive it. I got malaria. I for real, I got malaria after that match because I could not believe what I had just watched, and that hurt for a long time. That's why I could not watch. That was like my first real footballer heartbreak. Okay, not my first. I think Denmark in 98 was my first real football heartbreak. But this one hit deeper. It was more painful this time. 98, I felt helpless. It was helplessness I felt. Seeing Ebesan do that thing to Taribo. It was just a feeling of helplessness. But this one, we felt like we could really have won this game because it went all the way to penalties. In 98, that game was done really like long before the final whistle was done. But in 2000, it went all the way to penalties. Like, we really could have won it and we were so close. We just had to take good penalties. And I know that Nigerian fans lost it after that final. Like, everybody lost it. People fell sick. For real, people were, because it felt so personal and we were so attached to that team. And a lot of people were so annoyed and angry. And, the referee, I still remember his name, referee Dami. He was Tunisian. I remember that there was this big controversy over him after that game, and everybody was so pissed, and he was just constantly mentioned in the media. And I remember that they saw one guy in Lagos. I remember that newspaper publication that they saw one guy in Lagos. He looked like Kanu, and fans gathered him and were very angry at him and almost beat him up. I'm not a fan of that, man. Like, That's not supposed to be how to react to a football game. You can be pained, you can be hurt, you can, feel a lot of emotions. That's normal, and it's okay. But you should not be doing that to someone. So yeah. Anyway, that was that, and here we are. But it was a great tournament all the same. I really enjoyed that tournament, and even the games that I got to see of other teams, they were very, very great. The technical quality on show was very good, and that was a really remarkable AFCON. I remember the build up to it, frenzy, and then as the tournament was going, it was a fiesta. We had a lot of fun that entire tournament, and we really should have won it. Sunday Olise's tears stayed with me for a long time, seeing him cry in that white and green. And then I remember some people blamed the jersey that we shouldn't have worn white because when we wore white against Senegal, no, we didn't wear white against Senegal. We wore green. Yeah. Some people were saying that we shouldn't have worn white, that we had been winning with green all along, and then we went and played this game wearing white, and then we lost. White is not good for us. Why wear white? Should have worn green. We would have won if we won green. But really, people were just trying to cope with what they had seen. I think it was really painful to see. But congratulations to Cameroon. I think they deserved to win that tournament. They were the best team, not us. And they were so good. A very, very well-deserved win. And then they won the Olympics that year as well. Olympic football gold. So yeah, they were very, very good. Mboma, Jeremy, Kala, Wome, Marc-Vivien Foe, Rigobert Song, Olembe, Solomon Olembe, Eto'o Mboma. Of course, what a team. Laurent Etamimea and the likes. They were good. I think it was Alium Buka that was the goalkeeper as well. Very, very good team. What a tournament.